Hey, welcome to another episode of Gamers Galaxy. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Wojnar.
Hey there.
Um, so how's your Far Cry experience going?
I'm almost done. I haven't played in a couple days. I've been out and about, being busy,
Right.
but I think I'm pretty close to the end.
Oh, nice.
I've got just almost all the trophies. I'm kind of devouring the game.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's one of those games that if you don't do everything when you play it, you feel like you're not finished. Like I've done all the outposts. I've gotten all the radio towers.
Oh, really?
Um, it's one of those games that I do have the feeling that once I beat it, it will be a long time before I get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just excellent, and I'm enjoying myself greatly.
Yeah. Well, I put mine on hold because I got a little bit distracted with Devil
Right,
May
you're
Cry.
playing. What are you playing now?
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry. Right.
Yeah, it's an excellent game. I'll talk more about it in another episode of postmortem. I won't do a postmortem this episode, but I'll talk about it in another postmortem because I don't think I'm far enough to actually give you the full assessment of it, but so far it's pretty good, man. I like what Ninja Theory did with the property, so
Uh-huh.
it's excellent. So I guess we can get started with our news topics. First up, it's a bit of bad news, but at least we get a confirmation of when this game is coming out. Grand Theft Auto 5, which was supposed to come out sometime in the spring, even though they didn't really give a date. They delayed it, but they actually gave us a solid date. It's coming out on September 17th, so around.
As of right now, it's coming out September 17th.
Yeah, so they gave a reason. First of all, they gave a statement like, "Oh, we apologize, for the delay, but trust me, It's for the best. We're working on it, a very ambitious project. So I guess they're doing some cool stuff with the GTA property that's never been done before. Like I don't know, it sounds like it, and that they also so it's coming out September 17th. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess we're all a little. We all expected it to come out in May
Hmm.
because I mean, since 2008, it's May. Even Grand Theft Auto 4 came out April 30th,
Right.
2008. Ever since then, Red Dead Redemption, LA Noire, Max Payne 3, May.
Hmm.
So I guess we were all, a little taken aback.
Yeah.
Although I guess the more pessimistic of us now don't expect it until May 2014.
Well, a lot of people are starting to speculate that the reason why it was delayed, not necessarily because of development time, but maybe they're sort of delaying it so they can release it day in and day out with um, the PC and the Wii U versions. Because as of now, none of those versions have been announced.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're sort of saying, all right, we'll instead of releasing the game in May and then say give a 6 months window for the PC release or even the Wii U release, they figured let's just develop it for those platforms so we can release it across all platforms at the same time. Um, that was some people's speculation, but who knows?
That's
Um,
possible. I mean, they've never come out the same day, right? Ever
yeah,
since Grand Theft Auto 3.
yeah, they never did. Um,
Even Max Payne 3 came out a few months or a few weeks
yeah,
later on PC.
hmm and it's just it's everybody's kind of worried because Red Dead Redemption did not come out for the PC. Everything else,
Oh, at all?
no, it didn't.
Huh?
Like it was just that was a shock. They even came out with LA Noir for the PC, but no Red Dead Redemption. So it was like, okay, it's a little bit of a shocker, but you know, GTA is a much bigger property, and Grand Theft Auto 4 was a masterpiece on that platform on the PC. So I don't
Well,
see
it
them.
eventually was.
Yeah, because
Like,
I
after
guess
numerous patches, right? I
yeah,
hear that at launch it was a little bit of a
yeah,
mess.
because I think it was the physics. That was like one of the first games to be launched with the physics engine, so it wasn't all 100%. Um, but after I guess you called it patches and such, it was perfect. And then add to that with the community kind of modded it to kind of give it a more realistic look. Like it looks like the vastly superior GTA on all platforms. But that's just my computer enthusiasm speaking. But this game does look good on the console. I think even if it doesn't come out for the PC, I'm going to be getting it on the consoles. You know, it's one of those things where I just have to get a GTA game. So
Well, yeah, I mean, you did buy a PlayStation 3 after all.
yeah, so I actually had GTA for the PlayStation 3 before I got it for the PC. You know, because it didn't come out for the PC right away. So I had GTA 4 for the PlayStation 3. Didn't beat it on the PlayStation 3, but then when I eventually got it for the PC, that's when I actually beat it. So I'm excited. So I guess September 17th is that release. So we got to mark it on our calendar,
The
right?
date, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right, pencil it in because you know those Rockstar games always get pushed back.
Another game that got delayed is Fuse. It went from its March release to sometime between April and June. So, again, I mean, other than the fact that
Hopefully, it's for marketing purposes because when I think about it, I don't know anything about this game.
Yeah, like, you know, other fact, the reason why people would be excited for it is because it's from Insomniac. But other than that, it doesn't look like your typical game that you like. If this game was from just a generic studio, you'd be like, "What the hell? I'm skipping." But you're only sort of pausing a bit because it's Insomniac. But like, it still kind of looks generic. We may be wrong. Like, what do you like? From what you see of it, does it look like something that interests you?
You know, I really haven't seen enough.
Yeah, like just screenshots.
To,
Right? Did you see the trailer? There was like a trailer for it, but it was more, I think, CG rendered.
if it was a while ago, I think I did.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of at the back of my mind, but I'm not really thinking about it. You know, there's been so little coverage.
Yeah. So, well, what is E3? Oh, E3 is in June, right? So,
Yep.
most likely they'll release it in June, give it some more coverage. I guess I don't know. But yeah, they delayed that game, and another game that's went from not even being delayed but completely off their roster now is EA's Medal of Honor series. They kind of put in that series on the back burner.
Yep, which is a shame. Medal of Honor 20. I mean, I was a fan of Medal of Honor back on the PS1, and then Medal of Honor Frontline kind of just blew everybody away.
Right.
You know, it was kind of one of the great first-person shooters of that era, easily.
Because now the whole plan was to sort of do their version of the Call of Duty Treyarch Infinity War trade-off, where they were gonna do a Modern Warfare, Medal of Honor, and then a Battlefield alternatively.
Yep.
But I guess they're putting that on the back burner. Now, are they bringing the Bad Company franchise as sort of the trade-off?
I hope so. That would be the silver lining for me. Because I liked Medal of Honor 2010. I wasn't in love with it, but I thought it was good. Especially online. I much preferred it to Call of Duty.
Right.
And I still pop it in every now and then. And shoot some Taliban in the face.
Yeah.
Or rather, shoot people in the face as the Taliban. It's a little weird. But you know, excellent game. I love it. I didn't play Warfighter, although I probably will be soon because it's gotten so cheap so fast.
And like, I don't know, the outlets are giving it pretty shitty reviews.
Yes, it's gotten pretty negative reviews.
So, I mean, what? My question is, 'cause I'm not gonna claim that I'm versed in shooters. You know, like, oh, I play all types of shooters, so I know exactly what a great shooter is.
I think I am, though. I think I'm qualified.
So, what is it about? What do they look for in a shooter? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I played the Modern Warfares. I played Modern Warfare 3. I enjoyed that game, you know, fairly well. Even though I would see the whole saying that, oh yeah, it's just basically Modern Call of Duty 4 1.0 or 2.0 or whatever the hell. Like, it's the same engine throughout the entire series. But at the same time, it's a different story, different scenarios. Yeah, it plays the same, but so what? You know what I mean? Like, are you enjoying it? Like, are you enjoying the scenarios that your character is being put in? And I do. For me, the only negative side to Modern Warfare series, and I think Black Ops series kind of stepped that game up, is the way it tells the story between each stages. Like you're not really getting the full grasp of what the hell is going on because you're just listening to these sort of conversations with no faces. You know, it's kind of like you're listening to a radio. So it's like you don't really fully get the story of what's going on until like maybe towards the end. You're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Right. Not to mention, of course, the glorification of war and
Right.
you know the justification of predator drones and all that stuff.
So my thing is it the monotony of all shooters is why people are kind of tired of them? Like, oh yeah, it's just basically you go through corridors and shoot, 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 and that's it.
Yeah, I do think that's it. I think that the first or 2010 Medal of Honor, you know, not the first Medal of Honor, but Medal of Honor 2010 was a hit because it had a realism
Right.
that Modern Warfare did not. And Warfighter, you know, just based on the reviews, it just seems to be more Medal of Honor. Which I guess, for something that was really well done, like Modern Warfare, is fine.
Right.
But people really were hoping that it would break out now. That Medal of Honor would break out into something crazy with Warfighter. And it just, you know, just didn't resonate for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not completely versed, and whenever I do get around to playing some shooters, I don't feel like, oh, this sucks or whatever. I'm just playing a game that happens to be a shooter. So like that's always been my curiosity in terms of like what, you know, when these games get bad reviews, like okay, like what else were you looking for? Like I think the most I guess sort of different experience out of a shooter I could say was the first Crisis, where it's not really just a corridor shooter. It was like, you know, it was like an open field and you were going around and you had all these sort of gadgets to go with it. But again, it was only a PC only title, so a lot of people
No, it was.
Yeah, I know, but by the time it came out for the, you know, PlayStation and Xbox, it was like, okay, it's over. We already played the shit out of that game already.
Yeah, but it still felt so different than whatever was on the market.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is like that game sort of did something different, but then it's like that game took how long to come out, maybe? And even when they came out with Crisis 2 was more of a generic shooter than the previous one. So that leads me to the question: if
it was slightly more of a generic shooter than the previous one. The environments were a little bit more narrow, and it wasn't as open. But instead of having a big sandbox for the whole level, it was kind of a bunch of little sandboxes.
Yeah. So that's the question is like, maybe if you do want to make a vast sort of shooter that's completely different, then you may have to put the time into it. You know what I mean? Like I think another game that comes to mind, which I think a lot of people still don't like, which I mind-boggling, is Metro 2033, which is like the atmosphere on that game alone, you know, sells it for me. But I
never played it.
Yeah, it's a really good game. So you know, it's a great shooter. Even though it has its moments where it's a corridor shooter, but for the most part, it's more of a like, I'll do this mission, do that mission.
I mean, the key's kind of balance.
Yeah.
And I think that Far Cry 3 strikes that balance.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people are loving Far Cry 3.
Where there's the overworld map, it's outside.
But then, you know, the funny thing about it is, even though it technically is a shooter, I really don't see it as a shooter. I just see it more of a adventure sandbox
Exactly.
game.
I think first and foremost, even ahead of shooting, it's all about exploring.
Yeah.
Like a first-person navigation game.
So I just feel, you know, I think it's just happened to be in a first-person perspective, but it's more of a sandbox game.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I played it, I didn't do any missions. I had about 30 or so relics. And I was like, you know what? I want to get that trophy for getting 60 relics. And I spent about 2 hours just going all around the map. I hardly shot anybody.
Right.
But I was just exploring and collecting relics, and I had a blast.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, just finding new areas on the map is rewarding in and of itself. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Arkham City
Oh yeah.
in
Like.
its structure, in that it has the overworld map, the outside,
Hmm.
and just like the city in Arkham.
Now, did you do a lot of exploring in that game, or did you mostly stick to the missions?
The side missions, I did the side missions as they popped up.
Right.
But as you play through both of those games, you enter buildings or go into caves or go into underground bunkers
Hmm.
that have a very linear corridor-based progression.
Right.
Uh, in Arkham City, it echoes, the entire structure of the first game. When you go into those little buildings, it's like playing a mini version of Arkham Asylum.
Hmm.
And when in Far Cry 3, when you go into those caves, it's like playing a regular shooter. The pacing is great because once you're like, all right, I've had enough fun, raiding outposts and exploring stuff, I want to go from point A to point B and shoot everything in sight.
Right.
And you get to do that.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
And
Yeah.
I think that's part of why it's it's a really good start to finish game. It's like from the moment you play it to the moment you're done, it's incredible. And then once you're done, you might not feel like going back soon. When I finish Far Cry 3, I see myself playing a bunch of other games and going back to Far Cry 3 eventually.
Really?
Not anytime soon. It's got such a kind of one of those heavy rain
Yeah.
kind of things. I mean, it sounds like a weird comparison, but just in that your character development is so ingrained with the narrative
Hmm.
and kind of sense of discovery of doing things for the first time, that going back and doing it again immediately won't feel as rewarding.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess
It's just a thing.
yeah. I guess so that's rest in peace to the Medal of Honor series. Maybe
Yeah, should have made Far Cry Medal of Honor.
yeah. Maybe the Medal of Honor series should sort of evolve into something like a Far Cry or a Metro 2033, where it's not just
Maybe. I mean, they could bring it back in the future at some point.
yeah, make
With
it
a
different.
with a very strong change. It doesn't have to be a straight up Modern Warfare clone.
Yeah, it could just make a different game. Like it's if you guys are planning to
Change the tone.
retire,
Go all Inglorious Bastards on it.
yeah, if you guys are gonna like retire the series anyway, the fact that it's not Medal of Honor is not a valuable brand, so you can say, all right, screw it, let's just do some crazy shit with it and
Mhm.
see if it sticks. So
Or bring Spielberg back.
he was involved in one of them.
Yep.
Which one?
The original Medal of Honor started out as a an adaptation of Saving Private Ryan
Oh,
until they realized that it just wouldn't, it wasn't possible at that time.
right.
So they made it more like Indiana Jones instead.
Oh, who knows? I mean, he's still into gaming. Like he's always trying to sort of make the perfect game. So I guess bringing him back, and he has a relationship with EA. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Bloombox on the Wii, right?
yeah, yep. So let's see what happens with Medal of Honor in the future. Um, the next news story. The Splinter Cell's Blacklist, the upcoming game, it featured a playable torture scene, which they have now excised from the game completely. Um, who knows if it's there's a big thing going on right now with the game industry and with the violence that's been taking place, at schools and whatnot, and the gaming industry has been under fire for years, for like since '91, since Mortal Kombat, right?
It's cyclical. Here we are again.
But like just the other day, that bill kind of failed to sort of censor games. Now it's like right after it's being brought up again in the whole Obama research about let's see what violent games does to youth and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is a direct sort of result of that situation. I mean, even though the developers did say it it never tested well. I guess it was too brutal for like game testers, so they kind of proactively decided to take it out before the initial release. So like something like this, does that sort of worry you, or you're just like what, whatever, like I'm not gonna miss it, so because I never seen it.
Well, it depends on the tone and the importance that the scene had to the story. What kind of tone do they want with Splinter Cell?
Right.
Do they want like a summer blockbuster kind of tone? Or do they want a Zero Dark 30 kind of tone? If they want a Zero Dark 30 kind of tone and then cut out the things that give it that, then it's nothing but posturing, and the game is going to feel inauthentic.
Right.
Like if they say, oh, I tortured this guy earlier, we just didn't see it because we censored the scene, then, gamers are going to cry foul. How are games going to be accepted as art if they don't... if they fold their hand every time someone cries foul, similar to how, getting back to Medal of Honor, the controversy when it was decided that the two-player factions in multiplayer would be the Army or the Marines or whatever, same thing.
Yeah.
Also, to any Marines out there who are listening, I understand that it's not the same thing. I'm just, don't worry about it. And the Taliban was, and then people cried foul. EA said, "Oh no, it's art, so calm your dicks." But then they continued to cry foul. So they said, "Oh, okay, it's not the Taliban anymore. It's the generic opposing force."
Right, right.
If you give in to that kind of pressure, then you're acknowledging that games aren't on the same level as television and movies and novels. You're backing down. You're not supposed to back away from that kind of confrontation. You're supposed to address it head on, or else you're never gonna progress.
And the thing is, like, there's a lot of things in the news are popping up about certain games sort of coming under fire and sort of succumbing to this whole censorship thing that's going on, and it worries me. Like, or it feels like it's almost like all attempts to sort of ban violent games or whatever, it's coming to a head now, and they're finally getting a leeway and using recent violences that's occurred at these schools as their platform to say, yep, see, now these games need to be banned. Like no, it's like, come on. Like if that was the case, everybody who played these games, I'm not 100% saying that some of these games didn't influence some idiot out there, but then so are movies, so are like you pick up a magazine and see like naked women, and then some psycho might just like get their brains rewired and decided to become like a serial rapist or something. But you can't just like hold that to the entire general populace. The general populace, they have sense to know what's like real and not. So there's a deeper issue here than just, oh, it's violent games and it's violent movies and stuff like that. So that's what got me, it's getting me a little bit worried that all of a sudden a lot of companies are starting to fold to the pressure now. And I hopefully that's not the case, and it's just a case of that the scene was just too violent and he took you out of it too much. They were like you said, they were going for more of a summer blockbuster, because I think that's what the Conviction was, more of a summer blockbuster, wasn't it?
Right, from what I understand, I never played it, but it was more of a spy adventure.
Right.
Serious and dramatic and stuff, but not, a little more Jason Bourne than 24.
And maybe the fact that it was a playable torture scene where you're actually torturing somebody, they might say, oh, well, yeah, that may be a little bit too much. But I don't know. You don't think a better solution would be to, all right, let it not be playable, let it be just a cutscene, instead of like taking it out completely, kind of.
Yeah, there was a scene actually, and I feel a little silly, using this as evidence to support the artistic merit of games in Call of Duty Black Ops,
right,
where the player controls a QuickTime event in which they put a shard of glass in a evil scientist's mouth and then punch him in the face.
Yeah, I remember that.
and you just feel like a bastard when you're doing it, but you also understand that it's in character with who you're behind. With Ed Harris's Jason Hudson character.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that people, the government, and game companies have to sort of realize, okay, we have movies for kids, we have movies for adults. Same thing with games. Like, yeah, games primarily started out as a kid's plaything, obviously, but at the same time, you have, like comic books, you have adults who sort of grew up with comic books and still read comic books, and then say, hey, maybe we should make more adult comic books, considering that adults read more comic books. Same thing with games. You have games, kids grew up on games, and then the older they got, the more mature their gaming got. So we just have...
This is what I found this on Game Informer.
Right.
But Adam Sessler was interviewed for a Fox News program,
right,
in which he said things like that, how games, like the biggest misnomer regarding gaming and that art form is that we call them games. Mm-hmm. That gives the implication that they are toys for children.
Right.
And he disagreed with that that preconception. Mm-hmm. And also how yes, there is research that says that video games cause aggression, and it's not necessarily the violence in them that causes that, but rather the aspect of competition.
Yeah.
The same, kind of competition you get, as he said, when you play basketball or when you're driving home in LA. Mm-hmm. Road rage and stuff. It's not the violence, it's the competition. Mm-hmm. It's the desire to beat other people.
So I don't know. I think this is something they really have to take a look at and just realize that. I mean, these people are smart, right? It's just like, why are we? If we're this smart, why are we singling out these things as a cause of something horrible?
Because old Republican senators and congressmen don't understand them. If old Republicans don't understand it, it's dangerous.
So maybe I mean, it's been so long since the video game industry started. Maybe we should stop calling it video games. Like, what could we really call it? Interactive softwares?
Well, they call them it's an interactive medium.
Yeah.
But the thing is that these Washington people. They really want our young people to grow up to kill other young people in other countries, but they get really mad when the media that that grooms them to be violent ends up causing them to be violent at home. Yep. They're like, no, wait until you join the army so you can go kill brown people overseas, not white kids at school.
Yeah,
don't do that. So. It's the culture of violence that has been, festering in this country for so many years, sometimes it spills over into actual violence, and people act surprised. I mean, most people are able to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Like, I love violence, just not when it's real. I love violent video games and violent movies, and I watch television shows. I watch Boardwalk Empire. You're supposed to root for the bad guys in those.
Right.
Oh, the cops. Friggin' cops, man. They're getting in the way of Steve Buscemi becoming an emperor.
Yeah.
We watched The Sopranos, and we were like, oh, the FBI are so inept and stupid. Not like these. Although The Sopranos did have a kind of sinister undertone where everyone was bad, but at least they were entertaining.
Yeah, yep.
Which Boardwalk Empire didn't have until recently, which is why I didn't really like it that much. But, we watch movies where the good guy wins because he shoots the bad guy's head off. Mm-hmm. And we play video games where they, blow people apart. Of course, there are an extreme minority of people who don't have anything else and who can't compartmentalize the difference between, you know, violence on television and violence in the real world, just like how, you know, child molesters see children's programming as pornography.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a few messed up people in the world, and they're going to be influenced by whatever is around. And that's no reason to silence an art form or to, deprive people of what makes them happy.
Yeah. So I just, like I said, I'll be keeping an eye out, on the progress on any other game that decides to fold, you know, under pressure, and hopefully that wasn't the case with Splinter Cell, and it was more of a narrative thing why they decided to take it out.
Hopefully, we'll see when it comes out. And this Splinter Cell is actually going to be multi-console again.
Yep.
You know, Sam Fisher's kind of like he's married to the Xbox, but he sometimes he dates the PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Yep. But
You know,
because
every once in a
the last one
while,
didn't come out. The last one didn't come out for PS3 though, right? It was
right? No
only
Conviction on PS3, which is a shame because that was the one that I was kind of interested in.
right.
I mean, I only ever played the first one on the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have the HD collection, but I didn't really care. And they had Double Agent eventually came out on PlayStation 3, but I hear that it's glitchy as all hell.
Right.
You know, back in the old days when people just didn't know how to make games for the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's a miracle that that console survived.
I think it was just the exclusives why it was still afloat.
Yep, that's what it had.
Yeah.
And now in the long run, now games are showing up, that are at the very least, virtually indistinguishable from each other.
Now,
Sometimes it was like, oh, it's the PlayStation 3 version. You can tell because the frame rate dips.
now, do you think they'll pull a Mass Effect situation now with Splinter Cell having Conviction come out for the PS3?
That would be nice, and it would, get my rocks off, so to speak.
Like, even go to the extent of saying, okay, you buy for PS3 owners, you can buy a special edition of Blacklist, and it comes with Conviction or
I
something.
would love that. I mean, there's nothing gamers like more than getting, free games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the reason why I bought Medal of Honor the day it came out. Not because of Medal of Honor. Who cares about that? I could just play Modern Warfare if I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But because it had the PlayStation 2 version of Medal of Honor Frontline in HD.
Right, right.
I mean, I played that for like a week before I even touched Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I was all about Frontline. I paid $60 for that with a bonus of some new game.
Yeah.
If they had even like the HD collection on Blacklist, that would make it a buy for me.
Cool. All right, so let's see what happens with Blacklist. So let's get to the next news story, which isn't really so much of a surprise, because we weren't really looking for one anyway. But Nintendo CEO Satoru Iwata came out and basically said no price drop for the Wii U is planned in the near future. They pretty much learned their mistake from the 3DS, where it's like I think they overcharged for the 3DS, and then they had to sort of lower it, and people who bought it early, they had to do some, sort of like appeasing by giving them some free games. So I
Yep.
guess they sort of decided, like, when the Wii U dropped, they dropped it at the price it should be, and they're saying like we haven't fully conveyed the value of this game, which is ironic because we were saying the same thing about. I remember when PlayStation 3 just came out, and it was like $600. Um,
Good times.
at the same time, yeah, it's an outrageous price. We all know that, but at the same time, if you really look at it, it was worth it. You know,
Yeah, back then, I mean, kind of the main justification for the price of the PlayStation 3 was that it was still cheaper
mm-hmm.
than the brand new Blu-ray players.
Right.
You know, a Blu-ray player in 2006 would cost at least $800.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so $600, and it also plays video games. You know, the goal was to get lots of people to buy it just for the Blu-ray and kind of, you know, oh, there are also games. Let's check that out.
Yeah, and in fact, and because when it just came out, it was backwards compatible with PS2 games, so you could play PS1, PS2, and PS3 games, free internet, free online game, and on top of that, you you didn't have to pay for online gaming.
Right.
You know, so and it had an internet browser, even though it sucked. But you could, you know, they
Still
just
sticks.
yeah. But just all of that, you know, just pretty much you had a mini PC on your hands. It was worth it. So, but the marketing didn't let people know that. Like some people even didn't even think you could play online with it. You know, it had a built-in Wi-Fi as well. That was also a part of it, and it was HD. It had a HDMI, which Xbox didn't have at the time.
Right. That I mean, every time I hear that is the case,
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, that is ridiculous.
So yeah, it was worth its $600. It's just that yeah, a lot of people couldn't afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get it right away. I
Yeah.
waited for a couple of price drops.
So I guess I don't know exactly what Iwata is talking about in terms of him the company not letting you know the full value of the Wii U. It looks pretty standard to me. Yep, you
Well,
have a
we didn't know
controller.
the full. I mean, just as a gaming device, I think he means.
Right. So
You
that's
know, it always takes a couple years for really great games that take advantage of the console to come out.
hmm hmm
I mean, compare Resistance to Resistance 2.
right.
Now, Resistance, in my opinion, is a much better game,
hmm
but it's visually, just technologically, it's way behind Part 2.
right.
And games like Uncharted didn't come out until almost 2 years after the console launched.
Right. Right.
And to some, Uncharted was like the first killer app.
hmm
You know, for those who weren't into Resistance. Although Resistance was I mean, I can put that in right now and have a blast with it.
hmm Well, I mean, Uncharted came out when you know they decided to lower the price a little bit. It's like it wasn't $600 anymore.
Right, they kind of had to incentivize. You know, we won't lower the price until we're going to get people to buy it, period, you know?
So, I mean, you know, does Iwata have more of a surety that people will actually buy it without lowering the price? You know, considering that, you know, the Xbox and the PS3 kind of are hitting their stride with their games now. Like you know, they know exactly what to do with in terms of the technology, and you know, the next gen is just around the corner. So it's like, do they have that luxury to sort of wait and kind of
Yeah, I think they do. I think they want to, you know, by the time that the next gen PlayStation and Xboxes come out, they're gonna have, you know, Wii U 3D, Wii U killer apps.
right, right,
And so if you just lower the price, they lower the price, then they're gonna rip off everyone who hasn't bought the Wii U, or who had already bought the Wii U.
yeah,
But if they wait, they say we'll lower the price, and we have we have new Mario, and we have new Zelda, and new Kirby, and new Earthbound. It could happen.
okay, all right.
Um, it probably won't happen,
I mean,
but you know, we have new this, new that. Then, you know, the people who already own it will buy the games, and people who don't own it will buy the console at a lower price.
I mean, hopefully it works out for them. Like, I myself do want a Wii U
Yeah,
eventually.
me too. Even, you know, I like it because
Like,
you know, the lack of an HDMI on the Wii really bothers me. I'm playing through Skyward Sword now,
right,
and it's just so damn blurry.
yeah,
I've got some kind of, you know, fancy hookup, like, you know, big thick cables. I don't know what it's called. I got it from a friend,
hmm
but and they help, but it's still blurry as all hell.
yeah. The Wii was just one of those platforms that I was not interested in getting at all. I was like, all right, I'm not even.
I
But
mean, and as much as I do like Zelda, I am kind of like, you know, as awesome as it is to swing a sword like this, I kind of just want to hit A.
yeah, Now, do you have the option to turn that off and just do play
Nope,
the
nope.
traditional?
Wii Motion Plus is critical, and to be fair, it is used within the game very well. You know, you can't just hit an enemy until they die.
Right,
They will raise their swords and parry you, and you have to hit them at a specific angle,
right.
which works quite well.
Okay,
You
nice.
know, so when it's on, you know, it's on, and you're like, oh my god, this is incredible,
Hmm.
and it works really, really well. But then when you're just, you know, kind of run of the mill exploring, you're like, all right, I kind of just want to lay back and push A until I win.
All right, all right. So that's no Wii U price
But yeah,
drop.
definitely want a Wii U. I mean, I think I've said this before, but what I like most about the Wii,
Hmm.
like more than motion control, more than anything, is that the controller has a microphone or a speaker in it.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
And it's really cool when you unsheath your sword
Hmm.
and you get that sound effect
Right.
of the sword coming out of the sheath
Yeah, yeah.
from the mic, you know, from the controller.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is pretty awesome.
Um, but I think the Wii U price is gonna drop probably by the end of this year, though. Even though he says none is planned, but I think by the end of the year it'll drop.
Probably.
All right. So the final news story. Usually we talk about movies in our movie podcast, but it's game related, so we're talking about it, and I saved it for last. So if you guys aren't interested in movies, you could leave, but hopefully you don't. But the long in gestation Warcraft film has now made a big leap. Duncan Jones, who directed Moon, and what else did he direct again? He directed Moon and something else.
Source code.
Yes. He is.
Excellent
Yeah, I
films.
love that movie. He is directed, which is a huge jump for him actually.
Yep. You know, they're kind of small sci-fi
Yeah, so he's gonna do World of
parables,
Warcraft.
and now this is a huge fantasy. Who knows? I
Yeah,
mean, who knows what it's gonna be? I mean, this is kind of one of those movies that I still don't see ever happening.
yeah, because all right, Sam Raimi.
Especially since it's kind of too late. I mean, didn't Mists of Pandaria or whatever it's called
Hmm.
sell significantly less than expected?
It
Is Warcraft not on its way out?
it did, but the fact is they still have 11 million subscribers, so it's
Ah,
not really.
I mean, if they can get half of those to go see the movie, you
Yeah,
have a $80 million hit.
pretty much. So
I mean, I don't do math, so I'm probably way off
yeah.
with that. But there you go.
So the fact is that even though I mean, it's kind of like the Mario situation. You could still technically make a Mario movie now, and it'll be a hit, even though that franchise is old as shit.
Mm.
Same thing with Zelda. You can make a Zelda movie right now, and if it's a good Zelda movie, it'll be a hit. So I think
Yeah, but it's not about being old; it's about being fresh. You know, Zelda and Mario are always fresh. They're hip.
right. I
They're
mean,
new.
yeah, Warcraft has been
Warcraft, I
around.
think, is on its way out. I think that they'll probably just call it Warcraft so they can get all the Warcraft fans in there.
Yeah. So yeah, Sam Raimi was the previous director on this, but
He dropped out.
dropped out, because development hell and all that issue. But Duncan came on and tweet and says, "All right, can we finally make a great video game adaptation?" I guess that's everybody's sort of test now, right? It's the same thing with Avi Arad for the mission for the Metal Gear property.
Right.
But Warcraft has a director now, so Duncan Jones, and a great director at that. Hopefully, not too much studio interference will get in his way of his creativity, because I don't
Yeah,
see him.
that'll be the day.
Yeah, I don't see him. It's first and foremost, it's a video game, right? So I don't see him taking a project like this unless it's something that interests him. Coming from Source Code and Moon, which are two really different, unique sci-fi films. You know what I mean? Like, why go to this big Hollywood generic movie if you're not going to do something at least different? Not saying like too different where you alienate the fan base, but
I'm
something.
sure he's got some tricks up his sleeve. You know, some ideas, something that's like, oh, I can do this because I have this amazing idea
And
that'll make everybody happy.
yeah, and I hope sort of it pays some hopefully it does you know justice to its budget. Like, it doesn't look like Dungeons and Dragons. Remember that movie?
I did not see it, of course,
Okay.
but I remember the ads for it.
Yeah. So it looks like a movie that was, the details was, was paid attention to. So, like I want to say compare it to Lord of the Rings, where that movie sort of had, the epicness, of like a big fantastic fantasy world. So it's the same thing with Warcraft. It has a huge lore, so it's a lot of story he could tell with that. So hopefully he does it justice. I mean, I won't say I'm the biggest World of Warcraft fan out there.
Never played it.
I actually, because you can play like the first 20 levels for free, so I actually downloaded it and I just went in for a couple of seconds. And I didn't stop playing because it was bad. It was just like, all right, I'm playing something else, so I'll get around to it eventually to play that first 20 levels. But it's a huge game for MMO players, so hopefully it's as good and attractive to what a lot of these Warcrafters love about the game.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the end of this episode. As always, you can find us on iTunes and on Stitcher Radio, and we are on YouTube now. So subscribe to that channel, give us a thumbs up and a comment, and then you can email us at gamersgalaxypodcast@gmail.com, and of course, you can find us on Twitter at Marky Tundra. Where can they find you, Zach?
At my name, Zach Wojnar, which
All right,
I should probably be on more. I mean, I don't think I've tweeted in about a month. I'll check it out.
Yeah, that's fine. People will wait.
Tweet me.
And of course, you can get all our entertainment goodies at popculturegalaxy.com.
Yeah, get Metal Gear Rising.
Right? Yeah, we're giving away Metal Gear Rising, so go over there and enter that son of a bitch. Get that game for free. We always like free stuff, right?
Yeah, and we're just giving it away, and by we I mean you.
So, until next time, I want to say peace.
Indeed.